Sabato 2 novembre, carissimi, ci vediamo a Verona per la commemorazione dei fedeli defunti. Portate con voi le immagini, le foto dei vostri cari defunti che metteremo al lato dell'altare e benediremo. Potrete fare l'offerta della messa in suffragio dei vostri cari defunti, come Santa Madre Chiesa ci permette di fare a piene mani. Pregheremo offrendo loro i suffragi che possono condurli in paradiso. Sabato 2 novembre a Verona alle ore 16:30 preghiamo e celebriamo la messa per i nostri cari defunti. E poi domenica 10 novembre saremo a Cassino per tutto il piccolo resto romano e di dintorni. Partiranno dei pullman a costo zero, gratuiti, da Roma per quelli che non hanno come venire a Cassino. Verrete e sarete ricondotti a casa gratuitamente. Per le prenotazioni rivolgetevi alla segreteria di Radio Domina Nostra o al referente regionale del Lazio. E poi ancora vi ricordo che il 27 dicembre io celebro l'anniversario della mia ordinazione sacerdotale, 25 anni di messa, il giubileo d'argento, giù in Sicilia, piccola Nazareth Ave Maria per quanto lo vorrete. Abbiamo vissuto un momento di grazia lo scorso 6 ottobre a Milano con migliaia di fedeli, il piccolo resto c'è e il popolo dei rosarianti con la corona del rosario in mano. Andiamo avanti e preghiamo per il trionfo del cuore immacolato di Maria. Verona, 2 novembre, commemorazione dei fedeli defunti. Roma, Cassino, 10 novembre con la possibilità di venire coi pullman gratuiti da Roma. E poi 27 dicembre vi aspetto giù in Sicilia. Tutte le altre tappe saranno rese note nei giorni a venire. Sia lodato Gesù Cristo e avanti con Maria.
May Jesus be praised, and onward with Mary. Good and holy evening to all you dear children listening to Radio Domina Nostra. We gather with joy for our Tuesday evening appointment called War Tuesday. I had said that today, or perhaps even next time, we would conclude Martedì Bellico, but I really enjoy this Martedì Bellico because it clarifies many things. So anyway, probably yes, then we can start the commentary on the Gospel of John. This evening we have an episode from my book, The False Church and Its Destiny, which, as I keep reminding you, I have been commenting on for a while now. There will be 5 to 6 catecheses, perhaps even a bit more, 8 to 9. It's the reissue of the volume that was first released in December 2017. I have only added a new preface to update it, but I do not deny anything of what I have written. Something was still prophetic, far-sighted, and it came true. Here it seemed impossible, yet it happened. Here it is, the 9th episode. The audience is expecting an interesting episode titled The Great Test. As you can see, it's in quotation marks. Catechism of the Catholic Church, number 675, and the Final Seduction. This is also a, as we will see, biblical theological category that alone can explain our current situation. The moment we are experiencing is a rather painful one for everyone, I must say. It's disheartening to see how many arrogant fools there are. Blessed, as some say, the humble fools. I am a humble idiot. I am a humble fool. Does anyone get offended if I say fool? I told myself, idiot. I, however, am a humble fool. There are instead the fools and the arrogant idiots that applauded me, listened to me, and praised me even more than necessary for years. And then, all of a sudden, they started to bite the hand that fed them, to follow the first elegant piper who shamelessly pronounces gross errors against the Logos that I have denounced and explained to the holy people of God for years. What can be done? Nothing, we pray and offer. We have explained things, and I said this morning once again, I repeat it, but excuse me. How is it possible that the blame is mine when I ask for a discussion, and it is refused? When it is then written elsewhere with little professional ethics that we want to rebuild the church, it is an act, I repeat, and I take responsibility for it, from the one who writes it, dishonest. I invite this young man to reconsider. It's still time to do it, before stubbornness completely takes over. Because this is a phase you don't mess around with Satan. Believe me if you want, if not, suit yourself. But you can't say no one warned you. We are not refounding any church. This is not a cult. This is not a cult. It is a reality that was foreseen, anticipated, and prophesied, that of the little remnant which preserves the Catholic faith. So many words, from the last Piper Antilogos to then say, go to Mass in union with Pope Francis, because they are valid. Pope Francis is an anti-pope, but it's still the Catholic Church. I keep reiterating to the ecclesiologist of the moment, graduated from the Pontifical Gregorian University, do you want to show me how the indefectibility of the Church is justified if it is occupied by the Antichrist? Because they will all agree that the blessing of gay couples, as their beloved Pope Benedict said, the blessing of gay couples is the Church's announcement of the Antichrist. Did Benedict say it or not? He said it, not me. Pope Benedict did. But who is Don Minutella that isn't right? I've read the comments from the disgruntled. Both of them are both upset because Don Minutella treats them poorly. He provokes them. It's always this blessed Don Minutella who's not right. He's lost control of himself. You'll see, I offer everything in prayer, but I repeat, I find it serious that after creating this confusion, evidently the guy involved is also acting all offended. I was surprised he wasn't doing it. They're both acting offended. The cat and the fox, there's an incredible new pairing, an announced divorce, not even announced. I'm leaving you, I'm not playing anymore. I'm off. I'm not playing anymore, I'm off. Everyone's got their style, naturally. Content matters, not form. It's not that just because they present themselves more elegantly, they are saying true things. They are saying anti-logos things. It's a huge risk to trust these two people, one being the pseudo-theologian and the other the journalist who wants to be the head, the spiritual leader of the resistance, of the reconquest of the Catholic Church. The guide to him is the reconquest. Who is your spiritual guide? How many times have I called him? Is he being sulky? Father's heart? Doesn't he get it? If he approaches with an open attitude, can he feel it? He's bringing all these people to his side. What I've read leaves me speechless. Clearly, the undergrowth of 𝐥'𝐚𝐻 was there, ready to launch the attack at the right moment. He couldn't believe that Dr. 𝐥'𝐚𝐻 suddenly invited Father Faré, because, as luck would have it, they found themselves together. He told me he didn't know him and knew nothing about him. I want to believe that, but of course, against fact there is no argument. If you don't know him, you've known me for years. We've collaborated, and you've never invited me to tell you how I'm doing. You immediately invite him to these questions. There are no answers. They get offended by the things I say, but they don't respond to the issues I raise. Then Pope Benedict said that when gay marriage would arrive, and that there is gay marriage, we shouldn't make it up. It would be the Church of the Antichrist. Do we want to assume that what guides Bergoglio is still the Catholic Church? So it is the Catholic Church led by the Antichrist. Jesus Christ tricked us. Father Faré deceives us. You decide. Who is convinced that it is still the Catholic Church? Nothing changes if it's still Catholic. And we are not a sect. A sect is anyone who in one way or another adheres to Bergoglio's legacy, which is not just an anti-pope. The master key is this supernatural perspective. They did not want to embrace it. They stop at canon law, which of course we do not despise. Someone wrote to me, Father, could you clarify the matter regarding canon law, which is important? But it seems to me that if this has come up, you see that I'm able to intervene on that. If this has come up, I'm sorry, but it doesn't seem to me that I have devalued the code. I don't think so. I only emphasized that it is not the first and only dimension to solve the great question. Instead, over there they say it's the only direction. So what would the only direction be? That the cardinals need to get to work. When? We have to wait. What do we do now? Go to the Masses in union with Pope Francis. They are valid if you don't feel like going to the Masses with Pope Francis. Do not go to those of the little remnant because they are rude, sectarian, they want to re-establish the church. They are Bertinotti in clergyman form. I don't know, really it feels like I'm witnessing a nightmare. I want to wake from this nightmare, grab the phone like before and say, Dr. 𝐥'𝐚𝐻, the Lord knows if I speak true, keep her healthy. May the Lord bless you, I pray for you. Stay alert. May the Madonna protect you. I would like to wake up tomorrow with this hope. Unfortunately, it is not a nightmare. Alas, it is a reality. And the people who before, were taking freely, now they're biting my hands. They're biting my hands, which makes me a rude person, a bastard, the Saxon pig, what I'm reading, because they feel reproached. They want apologies. But excuse me, if I say, the bloke is being resentful, demanding an apology and clarifying, and I on this side say, we apologize, you did it all. You didn't involve us. You're free, for goodness sake. You were helpful. Then you say you'll send us your 6 points, and you prevent us from making them known because you want to discuss them with us. And then you make them known yourself, without warning. So you do things without warning. I don't know. You see? Then they light up, and I call them idiots. I don't know. There are humble idiots like me, and there are proud idiots. So then what happens next? This is a right mess. To accommodate the mess he caused me. Because as I told you, as soon as I heard the news, the first thing I said, because I know it by now, I said straight away, you'll see that I'll pay for it. That's how it goes. And so, Porca Saxoni, which was the title given to Luther because I founded my church, these priests from the association, as people who have benefited from us, are no longer useful. Then I said they are open to dialogue, they are open to discussion, they are available to meet us publicly. We confront each other, people listen, right? And then, no, it's my fault. You don't want to engage, and I'm the one shutting down the dialogue. You're foolish to write that. Sorry, what are you thinking? If one does what Don Minutella, who has been following for years, says to Father Fare, do you want to make yourself available for a discussion? We discuss and chat. And that says no? And then this idiot writes, I abandon Don Minutella, because he is not open to dialogue, and isn't she a fool? Excuse me? If she isn't a fool, she has mental issues, she's offended, they're offended. But it seems foolish to me because there should be a minimum of mental decorum, and say, well, I don't want to follow him anymore because he screams, shouts, barks. Krautazo, in Greek, is a verb that appears 10 times in the Gospel of John. Even Jesus shouted it. Anyway, I shout and scream, and she likes it. Let's instead adopt a slightly more elegant style. But you can't write that it's me refusing dialogue, that I'm censoring myself, that I'm closing in on myself, that I'm doing my own church, simply because it's blatantly false. Or am I mistaken? Oh no, they take it upstairs. The Saint Don Minutella thinks we're fools, and it's how you'd like to be addressed. Excuse me. Sorry, but if I say the light's red, don't cross. No, you're colorblind, so just go ahead. You're just an idiot. And you deserve to get a Roman or Neapolitan truck driver on top of you. Because I told you the traffic light was red. For you, it was green because I am colorblind. I'm accused of avoiding dialogue. I'm accused of being a dictator, arrogant, proud. When I asked to meet, he said no. What he said was no. Gets away. If there isn't something of a satanic plot, of dark things that preceded and accompanied this affair, we're all fools. This is Satan launching an attack like never before. Stop being such a sulky gentleman, Dr. 𝐥'𝐚𝐝. Who benefits? Dr. 𝐥'𝐚𝐝. It's not because you act like a gentleman that I'm the uncouth one. Remember that I am a minister of God. Remember that I accompanied you. I opened your eyes first. Be a bit more grateful now. Avoid adding fuel to the fire by making one last video where you again ask for reasons. Ask Father Fare instead, and tell him, since he has the new mentor, to step forward, not you. He is a journalist, he is a theologian, he is a priest. You should be the journalist. You should be the journalist. Ask the priest theologian, ask your latest priestly flame, to tell him to make himself available. You come, be the moderator, but the debate must be between Father Fare and Don Minutella. I have absolutely nothing against you. You make up stories that you think I refer to you when I say certain things. Be careful saying that, because if you see my contribution from this morning, and I'm sorry you didn't notice, it was a paternal appeal. You are responsible, Dr. 𝐥'𝐤𝐵, for a schism you will answer to God for, because you deceived me. It's true that he knew nothing. Tell the truth, Dr. 𝐥'𝐤𝐵. How is it possible that Father 𝐵 has directly taken the conclusions you've been drawing for years? How is it possible that you invited him without knowing him first? Don't do that, I don't think so. He never invited Don Enrico, he never invited Fra Celestino, and even more shockingly, he never invited Don Minutella. He gets upset I call them idiots. I said the light's red, don't cross. Idiot. Not an idiot doing this. Define it how. So I apologize if the word idiots has offended you, but I used it on myself. So if I used it on myself, you might also enjoy hearing it said to yourselves. Got it? But you're idiots. If I say I'm open to dialogue and then you write, I'm leaving Don Minutella because he's not open to dialogue, but how on earth you're really foolish? How do I ask him? I link, but who is there? It's a satanic conspiracy. It's a mind obscuration. You can say whatever you want, that you don't like me here or there, but you can't say I'm leaving because I'm not open to dialogue. That's a lie. It's stupidity. It's total foolishness. Closing parentheses, this isn't over yet, it's a plot. And while Father 𝐵 doesn't make himself available, you see, they act all offended. Because they are the victims, as always. See the script repeat? I am the executioner. There's the current victim. You'll see how this story ends. All right, my doors are always open, despite Father 𝐵's initial refusal. I invite him to call this evening, let Father 𝐵 know. I don't know if he's live. But the new fans of Father 𝐵, those who were with us and have now moved on, they couldn't wait. On the other hand, because that's the best solution, we are a sect. Let him know that I am available. If you call, we can arrange to have a discussion. I believe it's necessary. I think it's necessary. He'll talk for an hour, then 45. I'll do 15. I'm available for that too. All right? I know it's foolish. It's to show that I'm available for anything. I've told others before, you see. Or am I wrong, remember? With priests coming at us. What do I always say? We'll see each other. Let's have a meeting. We'll talk about it. Good night to the musicians. As soon as it's time, it's not possible. Who knows why? But I come across as the one who doesn't want to engage in the dialogue. So that's the situation. Well, after this intro for now, the issue at the forefront, I'd say to Dr. 𝐥'𝐤𝐵, was unavoidable. How can you say you're blaming me now? Have you truly questioned yourself, Dr. 𝐥'𝐤𝐵? I ask you, Andrea, I truly ask you from the heart, but have you seen how the enemies are rejoicing? Couldn't you have played a different card, for instance, biding your time? Wait, come to see me, Father. I'm reaching you in Bologna in the morning to clarify the exit. The outing of Father 𝐵, no nothing. He called me. He talked the whole time. There are witnesses. I couldn't say a single syllable. If I make it up, he must have the courage to say that I'm making it up, and I believe that it doesn't go against his conscience. The fact that he acts like a gentleman, because he is, doesn't take anything away. I'm not to blame for this serious situation, because on the 6th of October I was in Milan gathering thousands of faithful as always, and shortly after, Father 𝐵 suddenly came out into the open without ever feeling the need to inform us. 𝐤'𝐤𝐵 is outraged by this initiative. And then they say, I don't want dialogue or confederation, but excuse me, I must confederate with those who wrongly think, theologically, that this is still Christ's church. I mean, the Church of Christ becomes the home of the Antichrist, the false prophet, the blessing of gay couples, of marriage, of communion for the divorced and remarried, of religions, that is still the Church of Jesus Christ. St. Augustine used to say the church in faith is a virgin, in heresy it is deserving. So it is not the Church of Jesus Christ. This is a fact, because the church is one, holy, Catholic, apostolic. Where is the gospel? Where is the apostolic tradition? It's gone, so not the Catholic Church. It seems that it is like Satan does. Satan always makes you believe it's the apple syndrome. It makes you believe that this is the Catholic Church. But I get angry there. I assure you, my dear ones, I'm being honest now. It's infuriating me out of apostolic zeal. I want to save your souls because the Madonna asks me to, telling me, look at what you're paying, my son, but carry on with joy because I know you're at risk. Don't set foot there. It's not true that you can attend Mass in union with Pope Francis. You must not set foot there, because even if the sentence has to be given by the Pope, or the cardinals, but the Pope comes forward and says, well, I say that I'm heretical, Don Minutella is right, he has to do it, then the cardinals do it. And when? We wait, and while we wait, people are returning to Mass in union with Pope Francis. This is what Father Faré wants. And according to Dr. Cionci, I had to accept this, because the Church is open. We must collaborate. Apart from the fact that Dr. Cionci should also reflect on himself before getting upset with me, because I could be much more than he is given how he behaved prior to this dispute, due to his fault, due to their public fault. When he said, he claimed, there are the catecheses. I want to know what happens to those catecheses when he said in number 39 of the Ecclesia of the Eucharist that Mass not with the Roman Pontiff, not in communion with him, is invalid. The document states invalid, but Father Faré says quite the opposite. He says that the Mass is valid. So how does it work then? Cianci's view now? Eventually the Cianci party. It attacks you who are the supporters of Don Minutella, but they can be supporters of Cianci. It attacks you if you allow yourselves to say to Dr. Cionci, but why are you behaving like this towards me? However, they can say the pig of Saxony, they can say that I'm rude, that I've lost my mind, that I'm a sectarian. So it seems to me that the conditions aren't right, am I wrong? But maybe they feel perfect now, but maybe they are without knowing that they are forming a sect. What kind of sect is this? What kind of sect is this that doesn't recognize shame and only has an antipope? But that is the Catholic Church. Full trust in the cardinals. They will resolve the issue. And in the meantime, Satan is lying in the Vatican. He puts the mattress on the canopy of St. Peter's. The church is overrun by gay people. The church is overrun by Freemasons. The center of Rome is controlled by Freemasonry. There are prophecies, but the prophecies don't matter, because it's not clear why they don't matter. So the Holy Scripture, St. Paul says that the Antichrist is prejudiced by apostasy, right? The Catechism is the church final test. What did I say? Final test. Well, let's go. So what will happen exactly? In reality, no one can say for certain, but by gathering the prophecies and visions regarding this time in a random order, one can assert that we have entered the final clash between the woman clothed with the sun and the infernal dragon. As I discussed in a previous book, this final clash is something I would have explored in much greater depth in the Symphony of the Lamb and also in Mary and the Antichrist, which is a theme that we are currently experiencing. This final clash, moreover, I say what kind of schism that is. I have been saying for years that the Unicum are schismatic, because when they go to Mass or celebrate Mass in Unicum, Pope Francis commits a schismatic act. But it seems to me that Father Faré and Dr. Cionci's position is similar. There's not much difference with 𝐸𝐼𝐴Cum. The only difference, not at all formal but substantial, is that for them Bergoglio is not the Pope, and for those for convenience he is. But for the rest it all applies. In fact, they can attend Masses in union with... I've never dared to ask Dr. Cionci, I've never done that, and he should appreciate this. It's not right that now he makes me out to be the Sicilian oaf, while he is the gentleman of Rome. He doesn't say it, but when it comes down to it, he's also now among those who attack me. He should reflect that I've never asked him where he goes to Mass, never. And that should make him think, I've never asked him, but do you recite the rosary? I've never asked him, but when you commit a sin, where do you go to confess? I should have done it. I didn't do it out of respect because he's outside. Rather lately, when I saw that this situation was getting out of hand, I advised him to pray. He cannot think he has a human mission to fulfill towards a reality that is not a human consortium, a political reality. This situation cannot be saved with political maneuvers. It is the Church of Christ. Attention! It is the Church of Christ. A journalist saves it. So at this moment, Don Dominutella is no longer needed. It's the journalist, the Moses sent by God. I look, truly, I assure you, I see a darkening of minds, a blinding of hearts that causes me pain, not for myself because I couldn't care less. In fact, I'm even pleased when they talk about me like that. I only have the embarrassment of choice. I know what I am before God, a fool but humble. Because I wonder if the traffic light is red, they tell me I check if it's red. I don't say to them, "You fool, you're colorblind." No, it's red. I'm not colorblind. It's red. And Father, pretending that you are not available for a discussion, so you can't write that you're leaving, you're a hypocrite. If you claim you're leaving because Don Minutella blocks dialogue with dissenters, you're hypocritical and will answer to God. And then for years you adored me, worshipped me. I don't know what on earth you mean, and I was there for you. I'm talking about one person, but to refer to many others, suddenly you feel the need to say it publicly. Has your affection suddenly run out? You get me. If you really disagree, in the end, out of respect for what you've received for 8 years, you decide to leave, let's say, in a way. Always because there's a priest on the other side, because you shouldn't say it publicly. And why this bitterness? False bitterness. He's not open to dialogue. I'm leaving because Don Minutella doesn't want to discuss. But how? Your new mentor, your new leader has refused to engage, and it's me? So you're an idiot. I reiterate, then you are an idiot. Because the traffic light is red, not green. Go ahead, I want to tell you something. Go ahead. The situation is what we're living. And in Revelation 12, there is the vision, I would say, a sequence almost cinematic, in which the Virgin Mary, Satan, enters the scene, who is always present in the Church Fathers, and then in the Mariologists of our time, the New Israel, the Red Dragon, and then St. Michael the Archangel, the devil himself, and thus what von Balthasar calls the demonic trilogy of the dragon, the false prophet, and the black beast. This time of deception we are living in requires more than just a canonical solution. I'm not saying when I say that I don't exclude it, as there is unjustly so much dishonesty at this moment. That's why it's a plot, it's a conspiracy, because I never said I exclude it. I have always told Dr. 𝐥'𝐿𝐴, available until the conclave. Some say, Father, could it be that they meet even after the conclave? And no, wait a moment. I care about the salvation of souls. I will shout even louder. I will be even more motivated to say, do not go that way. Also because the conclave is valid in itself anyway. So it's not true that I exclude the canonical solution. I say it can't be the only one. So an unprecedented attack is expected. Indeed, the Catechism and the Catholic Church speak of a great trial. To the Catholic Church, which in the vision of Pope Leo XIII is expected to last for 100 years, but can only be known by God, and will end when He has determined. Time during which, while the devil will manage to sit on the highest throne through a wicked man possessed by him, the Madonna will lead a small remnant. Look at what I have been paying these years to stay consistent. There is no clergyman more consistent than myself in these years. They all pass back and forth without a care. 2017. The Church will survive in a small remnant, which remains tenaciously Catholic in doctrine and liturgy towards victory, through the triumph of the Immaculate Heart promised at Fatima. In the meantime, the faithful Catholics will have to endure a persecution unlike any that has ever been, forced to hide and gather in new catacombs. It still wasn't the time for the gatherings we would have in the hotels. And perhaps I need to be an example for you. As Giovanni Paolo II would say, I'm not making anything up. I know what I'm drawing from when I tell you this. I must suffer in joy, in cheerfulness, in irony, in, I would say, insight, in a bit of irreverence. I'm a bit irreverent, but I have to suffer. Do you remember John Paul II when there was the meeting for families? And even then, alternative families were being opened up. The Pope fell into the woman. He broke his femur and said the Pope is called to suffer for the family. Here it seems like perhaps colon cancer. Now I remember the detail. We must suffer because the little remnant is destined for suffering. Suffering. The Madonna told Don Stefano Gabbi he will walk in suffering, in hope, and in prayer. It seems to me that we truly identify like this, and now that they're all coming at us, I invite all of you to disregard what they say. What does it matter anymore? We know it's not true that we are sectarian, that we are fundamentalists, and so on. Look, you're following a fanatic. We have made our own church. Disregard it. Look at who they are following. The false church will instead shout its Luciferian challenge to Jesus Christ. There was nothing yet. Slowly proposing the transformation of Catholicism into something like a global superchurch that brings together all religions to make them useless and ridiculous. There was neither Abu Dhabi nor Jakarta in this book that I wrote. Then they came because it seemed impossible. Even to myself, as I wrote these things, it turned out that all religions are the same. Everyone is a savior. Generally, starting from the third secret of Fatima, this glance into the future is credited with a whole series of prophecies, as we mentioned, which come from various parts of the world. Different, few, recognized by the hierarchy, many others ridiculed, silenced, buried. Think of Adola with Our Lady of the Pine. By a hierarchy that is becoming increasingly blinded, the coincidence of prophecies regarding the schism that will distinguish the true church from the false one is striking. However, it's not just the language of the prophetic, charismatic, and mystical world in 17 subtitle See Father Wood that sheds light on this final trial. So as you can see, everything is coming at me, and yet it's all written. Read again. Prophetic. It's not just the language of the prophetic, charismatic, and mystical world that sheds light on this final test. So I said it, I mentioned it in 2017, and I announced it. Where's all this fuss from? A Father Fare, who doesn't believe in prophecies because, as they have written, one does not progress in the world of 𝐥'𝐿. I go with my gut, I'm instinctive, I'm emotional, I'm a big softy, I shout, I yell, I wave my arms. Instead, Dr. 𝐥'𝐿 is, and the gentleman is serious, he's composed. Father Fare, let's talk about it. The gentle, elegant, gentlemanly movements. And what about Father Don Minutella? The Saxon pig of our time. Got it? And the girl, the idiot who doesn't want to see the red traffic light because she says it's green, she doesn't eliminate those. I've been told she doesn't eliminate those. So love turns into bitterness in an instant. They move from hypocrisy and lies, yes, of course, because, contrary to fact, I wrote it in 2017, that it doesn't only exist in the prophetic dimension, but still, I have to go through that now. What's behind? Who is behind this attack, considering that little Nazareth hasn't been closed? It hasn't been closed. By the way, I'm telling Dr. 𝐥'𝐿 because then you get upset, as he has never invited me to his channel. I've never highlighted it. He has been a guest on mine several times. I've promoted and sponsored everything. He has made posts about me, but he has never invited me. I've done posts about him too, but I invited him. So 2-1. I win in terms of gentlemanliness. But that's how it is. I am the Saxon pig, and Dr. 𝐥'𝐿 and Father Fare are the new butlers of the truth. Of course, if I were to do this for you lot, I also say to the friends who hosted us for dinner today in our group, perhaps I would step back. But it is the Madonna who asks me to do so. Believe if you want. So there isn't just prophetic language, there's also mystical language, as well as canonical language in the written book, and dogmatic language, even magisterial. Catechism of the Catholic Church of 92. Why this choice to talk about a final test of the Church in the Catechism? It's quite unusual. Probably the theologians who authored the Catechism, particularly Cardinal Ratzinger, with the backing of John Paul II, backing, and with a V, unless, well, they had realized the multiple supernatural appeals that could no longer be ignored, and based on the third secret of Fatima, which specifically concerns the apostasy and the internal schism, they must have deemed it necessary, I am sure of this, to establish the catechetical languages for this scheduled appointment with the history of the Church. So, Be careful. Those who say that prophetic language is not important overlook the fact that the Pope wanted to transform, on the contrary, prophetic language into magisterial language. I don't know if I'm explaining myself clearly, so be cautious about undervaluing prophecies, apart from the fact that St. Paul already mentions this in his writings. The tone of the magisterial text must be balanced, subdued, yet it hides nothing. It's an impressive snapshot of the current moment. Located in the Creed articles on End Times, numbers 675 and 677. Number 675 states that before the coming of Christ, the Church must undergo a final trial that will shake the faith of many believers. The persecution accompanying his pilgrimage on earth will reveal the mystery of iniquity in the form of a religious deception that offers men an apparent solution to their problems at the cost of apostasy from the truth. Is he talking about the Catholic Church, expecting it to apostatize? This would be a glaring contradiction to the promise of Jesus. The gates, Matthew 16:18, the gates of hell will not prevail. But then this apostasy from the truth concerns the false church, the one that will still seem to everyone like the Catholic Church, but in reality, it is the false church of darkness. And here inside this same thing is the third secret. Caterina Emmerich, Don Stefano Gobi, and Fudoshin, all those fathers, Father Pio, I've talked about it. When, yesterday maybe morning, it is not possible for the Church as a whole to apostatize from the truth. I believe Amoris Laetitia is an official document of the Catholic Church, or am I mistaken? Answer me. It's an official document. It seems to me that, at least in terms of media coverage and regarding what Father Fare and 𝐥'𝐚𝐻𝐸 currently believe, it seems that Fiducia Supplicans is a statement from the most important guardian of faith in the Catholic Church. Or am I mistaken that it is the Congregation for the Faith, affirmed by the Prefect of Faith, who is the primary guardian of faith alongside the Pope? Or am I wrong? Isn't the question if we're foolish? But if the Catholic Church is infallible, apostolic, and holy, how is it possible that these documents are produced in the name of the Church? All would end. Because to go against the very will of Jesus Christ, against God's original saving plan. So it's not the Catholic Church. It appears so. Beware of the last pipers, they are worse. When they tell you not to leave the Catholic Church, it all just gets resolved in canonical legal terms. Do you think the Lord asked Father Fare to do this, and the Madonna asked for it? Then they get offended because I say that the Madonna and I are fanatical. I'm crazy written it down, but they don't send these comments. And I understood the last traitors, the last Iscariots, the last scoundrels. Perhaps they even take pleasure in it. Satan enters them because Satan has only one goal, to stop Don Minutella. Someone wrote, but he's not arrested yet. But what kind of response is that regarding the topic we are discussing, the themes? What statement's that? It's clear that there is, obviously, it's clear, but they act all offended. No one from this side is writing to 𝐥'𝐚𝐻𝐸. They still haven't arrested him, while on their channels they can write similar stuff. I'm not talking 𝐥'𝐚𝐻𝐸, but the undergrowth. Still haven't arrested him? But haven't you understood that Mr. Minutella is out of his mind? But when will they do the compulsory treatment? It's clear they don't want to, and they don't want to discuss the substance, that is, if the Catholic Church still exists. Shouldn't we all be exempt? What happened to the promise of Jesus Christ? Because if Amoris Laetitia and the Trust Supplicans are just two examples, and the procession of Pachamano in the Vatican are doctrinal, liturgical, and pastoral products of the Church founded by Jesus Christ, then something here doesn't add up. Father Fare won't discuss it? Isn't it urgent that we do it? I don't deserve it, but I'm the one who isn't making myself available. Something satanic is a diabolical spell. I'm suffering a lot. He doesn't respond to my call after I apologize to him to meet up, and it's me. They're leaving because I'm not open to talk. I made the sect and want to lead all. Sorry, If true, I wouldn't invite Father Ferry. It's him who refused. He should explain to me how this is possible, that it is still the Catholic Church, based on the indefectibility promised by Jesus Christ. If Amoris and 𝐿𝐼𝐸𝐵, he could cleverly say, were produced by Pope Francis. Sorry, eh? And for most people, who is that? Because in the Church now, gay marriages are done separately in Africa, and still not in Italy, but in many regions of the world. What was supposed to be a threshold has achieved what it wanted. That is, they are marriages. So that is the Catholic Church. And then document number 675, Lucas in Fabula, Catechism in Catholic Church, precisely states this: the appreciation of apostasy from the truth that cannot concern the Church founded by Jesus Christ. The greatest religious deception is that of the Antichrist, which is a false messianism where man glorifies himself instead of God and his Messiah who came in the flesh. In a few strokes, I paint a clear picture. It speaks of a final test concerning the arrival of a false universal shepherd, and also of a deception of apostasy of the Antichrist, understood here more as a way of thinking, to render the salvific message of redemption futile. Naturally, it's like the catechism is obligatory. It delves into the interpretative ground of this final test. And this is a significant aspect, because not a few Catholics, aware of the deception yet disoriented, wonder why God allows this trial. Why is God allowing this? Why is God allowing Don Minutella, whom he sends through his mother, to take her all the way to today's Saxon pig, the new Luther, who was called that because he ate and drank what they wrote? They know, even if they've seen how much I eat. You are witnesses. No, nothing, no, but well, I don't eat much. Yet they write that I travel the world eating, but that's how it goes. But these are the followers of the new masters, the new lords, who say, I eat, I drink, I enjoy life, I make money. So it was true. Someone wrote, so it was true. I had some doubts, but now it's all true, Dr. 𝐥'𝐸𝐻𝐸, what has been said. Read with my own eyes. Why does God allow it? Why must we suffer like this? Apocalyptic pain, I carry it everywhere. Yet joy overwhelms me, for I already see before you like Moses on Mount Nebo. Perhaps I won't even get in. The joy, I feel it. You can't imagine how I see myself when I enter St. Peter's. The joy of seeing the final victory. But now is the time for suffering. Why does God allow it? The answer is provided in a theologically elegant manner from every point of view by the number 677, also from the Catechism. So, Father Ferry would do well to correct himself when he says that he does not seek private revelations, as these topics are not merely about privations. They are also part of the Catechism and the Catholic Church. I'm saying this to avoid confusion. All right? I'm saying this to clear up confusion. They're not just prophetic matters. There's more than bread and ham. There is also caviar if one wants. Venison, 4 starters. Look at Catechism number 677. The Church will not enter the glory of the kingdom except through this final Easter, in which it will follow its Lord in his death and resurrection. Everyone is building their own model of the Church, and we, the small remnant, are pointed out from all sides as the impostors, and we must suffer because we know, every faithful member of the small remnant knows, deep down they feel it, that this is the right path. The kingdom will not therefore be fulfilled through a historical triumph of the Church, following an upward progression, but through a victory of God over the final unleashing of evil that will bring down his bride from heaven. This is the theme of the celestial Church. Of the last judgment after the final cosmic upheaval of this world that is passing. So, the Catholic Church suffers, faces the final battle, and wins. But which Catholic Church? Not the one that's currently in the Vatican. That's the Church of Satan, as Father Pio said. Ask, Father, I would justify this statement. Father Pio, who certainly cannot be accused of fanaticism and was not the pig of Saxony, has also been through a lot, Father Pio, but I believe I have surpassed him in the national journey. 7 years I've taken them. 7 years. Aren't you tired, Father? No. Ready for anything. I won't stop. I won't back down. I won't stop. So this abundance of true Catholics, the small remnant, forced into hiding in the new catacombs, which are hotel rooms, persecuted in 2017 with satanic rigor by the false church, precisely that church which presented itself as merciful, with monetary condemnations, suspensions, canonical sanctions, both for the clergy and for the lay faithful who remained true to the supreme doctrine, is the true church. Animated by a powerful breath like that of Pentecost, of the Holy Spirit. And it will be a church that, stripped of everything, hated by all, will live the blessedness of the gospel, especially because it is called to follow Jesus on the royal way of the cross. There is something beautiful happening, I personally say. I am now even more willing to reach out to people. I said I will stay here in the north, even though I will then go down to Rome, Bari, Naples, then I go back up until the 8th of December. But there's something beautiful in this, which is when I find a faithful person from Bologna, for example. On Sunday I enter the hall, a faithful person sees me, and their eyes shine. And his heart rejoices at seeing Don Minutella, because he finds in him everything, the assurance that we can make it. But my eyes too shine, my heart too rejoices, because I also find strength in seeing that faithful one who endures. It is the communion, as the Acts of the Apostles would say, brotherhood. That is a characteristic always of true Christian communities. Deprived of everything, we cannot gather in church to pray. Anyone can do that, but we cannot even build our own buildings. They do not allow us to. And they don't understand. They won't allow us. Not only are we not allowed to enter the occupied churches, which are vacant, by the way, but we are also not permitted to build our own buildings. Scientologists, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, they can all do it. They blocked us in Trebislalge, and then later in Little Nazareth. All the other cells, can you tell me how they are being persecuted? Those who have left, priests, nuns, lay people who are leaving, what do they endure? Breathe, because no one is. The massacre is coincidentally against Dominutella and those who follow him. Why? Why ask why they're with us? Why are they with us? He'll follow Jesus on the cross's royal path. Ultimately, the final trial is a special grace from God, because only in this way can wavering faith be revived through the gift of martyrdom. How is it possible that most of the faithful do not realize the deception? Certainly there is the issue of religious ignorance, the gnosis that the Church Fathers spoke of, but above all, there is a supernatural root. It is God himself. It's hard to say, but it's the Word of God. When I heard Father Fare, I said, there it is, God's Word comes true. It is God himself who sends this seductive force when they turn their backs on the truth. St. Paul writes in the Thessalonians, they did not welcome the love of the truth to be saved, and for this reason God sends them a power of deception, energeia planes, so that they believe the lie. Yes, in fact, many believe the lie, and many of our own who have known the truth have returned to the lie of this seductive force, which is nothing but the demon of falsehood. One has written that they are possessed. They did not write this today. They wrote there was a day of massacre. Look, a massacre. Yes, it is the demon of schism that inhabits me. I am inhabited by the demon of schism. Well, let it be a reference from sacred scripture. As we have seen, the second letter to the Thessalonians, with its historical critical details, allows us to have this awareness. St. Paul writes, the mystery of iniquity is already at work. but it is necessary that the one who now restrains it is taken out of the way. Only then will the wicked one be revealed. I would like to know, Doctor, is there a cylinder in mind? This flash has spoken a lot about the Gnostic Church, right? Do you remember? And he supports it. But then, what is this Gnostic Church? What would it be? Do you understand what I mean? Because anyway, Bergoglio is creating cardinals. There are ministers of Satan in there, so what is the true church in there? Who represents them? If Bergoglio isn't the Pope, it's because of 𝐥'𝐚, unless there are denials, and he has also long supported this direction. I'm being disrespectful towards Dr. 𝐥'𝐚. It seems to me that I'm being disrespectful. Never telling the truth is being disrespectful. Never talked about an agnostic church, the serpent Christ, Dr. 𝐥'𝐚. Do you believe that Bergoglio, who speaks of the serpent Christ as Lucifer, is simply an antipope? It doesn't occur to you that Dominutella might be right, that he is the supreme head of the Church of Satan, since he reaches those. No, he doesn't reach them, and I don't know why he doesn't reach them. Only then will the wicked one be revealed. The Lord Jesus will destroy him with the breath of his mouth, and will annihilate him at the appearance of his coming, the wicked one, whose coming will be in the power of Satan, with all kinds of wonders, signs, and false miracles, etc. God therefore sends an impressive force of seduction. Energy now, to plan, is a verb that means to divert, to seduce, and it indicates the false path. God wills the blindness, dear flowers, we must be patient. Few will remain. Faith's light is out. Because Satan provides elements through the wicked man, the one who has the audacity to sit on the highest throne. Who is this wicked man favored by Satan, and what is the removed and concluded impediment? A French monk among the brothers Michel of the Holy Trinity published a work in 3 volumes, reprinted in various copies in French and in English, but strangely not in Italian, which extensively explores this issue. According to the French monk, a careful scholar of Fatima, the third secret contains an explosive prophecy about an heretical and apostate pope ascending to the throne of Peter after having removed the legitimate pontiff. Did this friar say this in the 60s? Such a situation will constitute the decisive final attack against the Catholic Church because, led from within, the figure of such an impostor will be hailed by the whole world. 2017. I have always specified that the powerful of the earth will serve him. A shroud of terror and fear will envelop the Church throughout the time of the imposture. Can I ever be likable to the devil? Obviously, a clear answer is not available. However, in light of what we are experiencing, I conclude we can argue that it concerns the highest representative of the Church, the Pope, who will reign in the time of the greatest imposture, as indeed the seer Bruno Cornacchiola will experience in a famous vision. Thanks to the work done by journalist Saverio Gaeta, we are aware that the Roman seer of Tre Fontane has continued to have visions and premonitory dreams with strong prophetic messages. In one of these visions, dated the 21st of September 1988, he writes to him, "What I dreamed must never come true. It is too painful, and I hope that the Lord does not allow the Pope to deny any truth of faith and take the place of God." And so the conclusion that I announce and will discuss next time, the title for next Tuesday, is the phrase of St. Athanasius. You have the churches, we have the faith. Cardinal Caffarra died saying, we must start again. Begin anew. Why restart? Because the authentic Catholic Church, the apostolic, one, holy, truly Catholic, is the one that survives in the small remnant. There are no other realities, except those that do not go against us, because Father Ferre has gone against us elegantly, for goodness sake. It's not that I want to say that no one is the Saxon pig of Italy like Dominutella. I'm the bastard pig. Possessed, driven by the demon of schism, Father, to be a holy man, yet he turned against us, making simple people believe he had fallen for it, appearing to side with us. But in reality, he launched a deadly attack on the small remnant, saying we are willing to say the Mass, but the Church remains as it is. Only Bergoglio is not the Pope, but the cardinals will resolve it. There is no room for prophecies. There is no room for the great prelate. Prophecies are of no importance. The Mass is still valid, and that is the Catholic Church. This is a tremendous, unprecedented attack. It still hurts me. I find it painful to imagine Dr. 𝐥'𝐚𝐝𝐢𝐨 enthusiastically addressing this version, so I start to doubt whether they had come to an agreement. He told me no, and I want to believe him, but certainly the elements suggest otherwise, frankly. Because, you see, someone you don't know, you wouldn't invite them to the first conference you have to attend. You would mention it in advance, even just out of respect, for goodness sake. And you get offended. You know what they do? They gallop in my style to make it seem like they are the offended ones. I should be the one to say, look, you behaved really badly. You're the first one to arrive and you invite them to say Mass. But why don't you invite me? Then he tried to correct himself, but the fix was worse than the mistake. But it's not that we're at your service. You're the secular journalist. You need to take a step back. Leave the matter to the priests and theologians. You just be the journalist. I wouldn't want there to be people. There's a guy who chooses him, points him out as the leader of the reconquest of what? We are children, brothers and sisters. Dear kids, we are at the comedy. Cardinal Kafara said it. We need to start over. And to have the strength, the courage, to stubbornly refuse to deal with the false church of Bergoglio, because it is the church of Satan. Satan is there, and it's no coincidence that the devil, look at how he takes to say yours truly, even if it were just for that. You should see that in these years he would have withdrawn anyway. Be careful, calling me a Saxon pig and a bastard. To engage in legal proceedings in various courts of Italy to reinvent stories, that I would be the one who cannot be named. Be careful to keep going, because you motivate me even more. I'm not discouraged at all. In fact, I feel comfortable this way, because I know what Jesus said. Dr. 𝐥'𝐚𝐝𝐢𝐨, speak of Jesus now. Gospel, please. Talk to us about Jesus Christ. Show yourself at Mass now. Not from us, because we suddenly became, as you say, schismatics, because we want, this is a low blow that I won't forgive you for, because you know it's not true, that we want to refound the church, but the theme of refounding the church doesn't exist. It's ridiculous, because the church cannot be refounded. I too, who am twice, if Dr. 𝐥'𝐚𝐝𝐢𝐨 permits, in the consultations of the past, which have happened twice, I would never forget to talk about a refoundation of the church. We are a political party of Bertinotti. It's not about refounding, it's about moving forward while preserving the Catholic spirit in the face of the apostasy from the truth. Will they heed these calls? No. And you? Perhaps Jesus said to the apostles, do you want to leave as well? Lord, to whom shall we go? You alone have the words of eternal life, and we have believed that you are the Son of God. And the really lovely thing was this strong bond among the priests of the sodalizio who did not hold back, and together they witnessed our Then if I say that the Semantolo is red and you want to pass because it seems true to you, I told you so. I'm sorry to see you under a lorry later, but I did tell you. Hearing myself say then on the other side, while it's cracked on the ground and you're from the tonic, you can't write. And I've finished. I want to reiterate this to the point of nausea. Forgive me. You can't write, I'm leaving Don Minutella because he doesn't allow for discussion. You are dishonest as a person because I said, even if you don't want to believe me, you can ask Father Fair if it's true or not. I've kept the audio as evidence. It's overwhelming. He learned, and when I asked him, he replied no. He is not available for a confrontation, so we request to listen. You should say the opposite. It's Father Fair who doesn't want to engage anymore. Why do you say that about me? Are you Father Fair? You know how they will react, because then the devil takes over in them. No, but it's good that he doesn't want to confront you, because you want always being right, not letting anyone speak. Got it? It's always the same things. So we move forward, my dear ones, aware that the time of the final trial, with the crown of the rosary in hand, I say this, as one possessed, is to recite the rosary, because it's the weapon of salvation in this time, which is the time of Satan. It's more beautiful because it's the time of Mary. You know how wonderful it is when you rise from the deepest darkness. So I took even more of his light. You know, the light shines, it radiates in the darkness. May Jesus be praised, and onward with Mary.
Sabato 2 novembre, carissimi, ci vediamo a Verona per la commemorazione dei fedeli defunti. Portate con voi le immagini, le foto dei vostri cari defunti che metteremo al lato dell'altare e benediremo. Potrete fare l'offerta della messa in suffragio dei vostri cari defunti, come Santa Madre Chiesa ci permette di fare a piene mani. Pregheremo offrendo loro i suffragi che possono condurli in paradiso. Sabato 2 novembre a Verona alle ore 16:30 preghiamo e celebriamo la messa per i nostri cari defunti. E poi domenica 10 novembre saremo a Cassino per tutto il piccolo resto romano e di dintorni. Partiranno dei pullman a costo zero, gratuiti, da Roma per quelli che non hanno come venire a Cassino. Verrete e sarete ricondotti a casa gratuitamente. Per le prenotazioni rivolgetevi alla segreteria di Radio Domina Nostra o al referente regionale del Lazio. E poi ancora vi ricordo che il 27 dicembre io celebro l'anniversario della mia ordinazione sacerdotale, 25 anni di messa, il giubileo d'argento, giù in Sicilia, piccola Nazareth Ave Maria per quanto lo vorrete. Abbiamo vissuto un momento di grazia lo scorso 6 ottobre a Milano con migliaia di fedeli, il piccolo resto c'è e il popolo dei rosarianti con la corona del rosario in mano. Andiamo avanti e preghiamo per il trionfo del cuore immacolato di Maria. Verona, 2 novembre, commemorazione dei fedeli defunti. Roma, Cassino, 10 novembre, con la possibilità di venire coi pullman gratuiti da Roma. E poi 27 dicembre vi aspetto giù in Sicilia. Tutte le altre tappe saranno rese note nei giorni a venire. Sia lodato Gesù Cristo e avanti con Maria.